Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. Speed Surf. By Michael Coleman. This is the third of 8 novels in Michael Coleman's Internet Detective series. The first book is called Net Bandits, while the second is called Escape Key. This sequel follows the lives of 6 friends from all around the world as they solve various mysteries using the internet. Speed Surf, like the previous 2 novels, is about the bravery of 6 friends: Rob, Josh, Tamsin, Lauren, Tom, and Mitch. This narrative is also about friendships that persist, thanks to the internet, despite the distance between people. The author emphasizes the benefits that the internet gives to modern life while also pointing out its drawbacks. Speed Surf 2 reports on the theft of a priceless painting of a battleship from a gallery in New York. Mitch was unwittingly embroiled in a sailing race alongside a rival called Brad Stewart. As in previous novels, the crew uses all available facts to solve the crime. Mitch's discovery of the stolen painting's copy was their most valuable asset. The 6 companions have demonstrated that they are on the side of justice and truth. Their will to solve crimes never fades. As they receive new cases, they become more adept and skilled at solving them. Josh and Tamsin have spent a lot of time with their internet acquaintance Rob. He enrolled in their school after they rescued him from a dangerous situation, as portrayed in the first novel. Rob had previously been homeschooled due to a vehicle accident when he was 8 years old that left him disabled. Rob's house was filled with computer marvels since his parents ran GameZone, a firm that created computer games and applications. A virtual reality helmet was one of the new products. When Josh wore it, he felt like he was sailing, and when he removed the helmet, he couldn't believe he was still in Rob's room. Josh observed a yacht that was sponsored by GameZone and was intended to compete in a race that began in New York and ended in Portsmouth. Brad Stewart will be there as the Zanelli family's spokesman. The race's organizers created a website called Starbird, which listed the names of the racers and yachts. The company's objective was to demonstrate everything that could be done with communication devices, thus all of the yachts were outfitted with portable computers and other equipment. Brad sent Rob an email in which he indicated that if the weather cooperates, he'll be at his goal in 17 days and that his sailboat's alarm went off yesterday night. Sailors are superstitious and follow rituals. Brad's plan was not to sleep aboard the sailboat the day before the race, but due to the alarm, he had to. Rob was concerned about the alarm and asked his friend Mitch, who resided in New York, to investigate. Mitch will be able to inspect the insides of the sailboat, which has always piqued his interest. Mitch was working in Cyber Snacks near Central Park on June 3. Mitch was allowed to see Brad's sailboat by his boss, but only after the boss returned from his run. Mitch was irritated because he was running late and his boss was nowhere to be found. While he waited for him, a man entered the bar and asked Mitch to assist him with writing and sending a message on the starboard page. "Our 3 last are out, the first one is over, so our pleasant sailing," the message said. Mitch's employer arrived, and he dashed to Murray Cove, where the sailboat was moored. The sailboat Go GameZone was docked close to Jim Gilroy's catamaran Jimmy the One. Mitch disliked him because of his appearance. He had a shaved head and appeared to be deadly. Brad gave Mitch a thorough tour of the vessel, showing him the deck and the insides, while Mitch took numerous photographs. He also tested the alarm system after Rob requested it. Mitch and Brad deduced that the alarm was set off by Bruno, the dog who was snooping among the crates and debris in the port. Bruno discovered a little artwork of a warship with a gilded frame while going through one garbage bin. Mitch decided to keep it since he believed it would look well on his wall. He heard the sound that signaled the start of the race while walking home. Josh, Tamsin, and Rob were in the informatics classroom in Portsmouth after the race had begun. They received an email from Tom, whose bike had been stolen. Mitch was grateful to Rob for the opportunity to meet Brad and view the sailboat, while Lauren wrote about her grandmother, who was obsessed with Enigmatic on the internet and could hardly reach the computer as a result. Meanwhile, in Perth, Tom was attempting to uncover the mystery of the missing motorcycles. He noticed that the robberies were consistently on Fridays, 2 weeks apart, and devised a plan to apprehend the robber. Rob was looking forward to checking the New York Times, the online newspaper that covered the campaign, after class. During his study, he came across an article about a stolen Navy painting. The group quickly recognized it was about Mitch's painting. It was worth $5 million, and they promptly informed Mitch of their finding. Mitch saw the note 2 days later and dashed home. The next day, he returned the stolen painting to the art gallery in the hopes of receiving a reward. The gallery's director and a detective awaited him. Unfortunately, Mitch's image was not the original. Mitch spotted the weird man who requested him to help him with the message from the starboard while the director and investigator were checking over the videotapes. He went home and resolved to keep his mouth quiet. Rob was a regular visitor to the website Starboard since he was always curious about the location of the Sailboat Go game zone. Brad sent him a note indicating he'd be giving a speech at his school. He also said something more concerning sailors' superstitions. Before the race, Brad apparently exchanged words with the man standing next to him. Mitch sent an email to everyone in which he explained that the painting was a forgery and that he recognized the man from the gallery surveillance footage. He further stated that it was the individual who requested that he write a message to Starboard. When Rob, Tamsin, and Josh got Mitch's email, they were studying for a test. They were so preoccupied with deciphering the message from the mystery man that they ignored their studies and ended up with no solution. They remembered Lauren's grandma, who is obsessed with enigmas, and forwarded her the email. Lauren hid the mail as one of the cross-puzzle questions. Grandmother Alice quickly decoded the message and came up with the solution: the merchandise is sailing safely. Tamsin and Josh, who sent the message to Lauren, thought the painting was on one of the race's sailboats. They even identified it as Brad Stewart's sailboat. They suspected Rob's father was involved in the robbery since he was the only one who could easily enter the sailboat and snap the photograph. They continued having ideas for the painting but were too scared to ask Rob about it. They remembered their Australian friend Tom, whose father was a detective. Tom was still heavily involved in the bike theft. Tom hid in the closet, waiting for the burglar, while his friend covered for him in class. He revealed the burglar to be an ex-student who, while wearing a school shirt, easily entered the premises and stole the motorcycles. Every bike, including Tom's, was discovered in his apartment. Even though Tom didn't contribute much to the recovery of the stolen picture, he was nonetheless useful. Tamsin made the connection between the two crimes. She recognized that by exposing the picture, it appeared to be a copy that was later replaced with the original and smuggled out of the country. Josh and Tamsin quickly remembered that Mitch had taken photos of the insides of the sailboat and that a CD with a film of the sailboat existed. Mitch forwarded the photos to Rob so that they could be reviewed. Tamsin and Josh proceeded to see Rob, who had received Mitch's message and had no idea why he had sent it. Josh and Tamsin went over everything with him. When they watched the film, they noticed that the painting was no longer on it, and Rob showed them the message he received from Brad regarding the superstition of exchanging items on the sailboats before the race. The kids discovered that one of the competitors had left a copy on the sailboat the day before the race. The thief who entered Brad's sailboat replaced the copy with the original and tossed it in the garbage, where Mitch discovered it, set off the alarm. They've written Brad an email requesting him to name the candidate with whom he had a conversation and explain them what it was. The message arrived the next day, but it was difficult to read because something had gone wrong with Brad's computer. They only managed to read the first portion of the message, from which they learned the contestant's name, but they had no idea what was exchanged. They eventually read the rest of the message and discovered the whole truth. Brad presented Jim Gilroy with a compass and a painting. They discovered on the internet that Gilroy was an avid painter and crossword problem solver. That information explained the stolen painting as well as Mitch's coded communication to the man in the bar. It was the ideal crime because, when they were leaving Portsmouth, Brad and Jim would exchange their belongings and Jim would obtain the original artwork without anyone knowing. The intention was for Mitch to provide a duplicate of the painting he discovered. They were simply hoping it would arrive before Brad. The first sailboats began arriving in Portsmouth on June 21. Jimmy the One, Jim Gilroy's yacht, was one of the earliest. Rob received the painting soon before departing with his folks for the port. Everything was going swimmingly. While Tamsin and Rob were getting ready to complete the rest of the plan, Brad's sailboat arrived at the port, and Josh documented everything with his camera. When Brad arrived, they greeted him and invited him to have a tour of the sailboat. When they arrived, they informed Rob's parents and Brad everything since they needed their help with the plan. They agreed to abandon the yacht and give Jim time to try to replace the paintings, but Jim didn't plan on Josh hiding in the sailboat with a camera. They also substituted a duplicate for the original painting. Gilroy replaced the paintings and returned to his sailboat, but they knew he'd soon notice he had a duplicate. When that happened, Jim returned and was surrounded. He flung the photo into the sea, but Rob caught it. Jim said that Brad had no evidence against him and that everything was his fault because he transported the painting across the ocean. He was, of course, mistaken because Josh had recorded everything. So they solved another case, and Jim Gilroy appeared in court with Josh's videotape. Characters: Rob, Tamsin, Tom, Mitch, Lauren and her grandmother Alice, Allie, Rob's parents, Tom's mother, Jim Gilroy, Brad. Tamsin, a girl that also goes to Abbey School with her friends Josh and Rob. She enjoys the internet because it allows her to communicate with her friends. She is also an avid reader and a bright young lady. She is a trustworthy companion. She is hurt by injustice, so she works tirelessly with her 5 pals to unravel the mystery of the stolen picture. Josh, and Tamsin's Rob's friend and a student at Abbey School. He enjoys video games, computer hardware, and surfing the web. He despises studying, and tests are misery for him. He's proven to be a trustworthy friend. Rob, his best friends are Josh and Tamsin. He attends Abbey School. Rob was paralyzed in a vehicle accident and is obsessed with video games, computers, and the internet. His parents own the computer game firm GameZone, therefore he gets to try them all first. He is incredibly brilliant and readily answers the difficulties that arise with each case. Tom, he lives in Australia with his mother who is a cleaning lady and his father who is a detective. In this novel, he investigates bike thefts. Despite the distance, he assists his companions in solving the riddles surrounding the stolen picture. Mitch, he lives in New York and works at a cyber cafe. It's a cafe with many computers and an internet service, allowing him to communicate with his buddies. In this situation, he greatly aided his friends by photographing the sailboat before leaving and locating a duplicate of the painting. Despite being a little older than the others, he attempts and assists them in solving another detective case. Lauren, a girl from Toronto, Canada, who lives with her grandmother Alice, Allie, who sometimes wanders the net. Lauren assists her friends in solving detective cases, and her grandma assists her since she was able to understand the message written in code owing to her love of enigmas. Michael Coleman was born in London on May 12, 1946. He is a British science fiction author. He is a huge sports fan and was a successful athlete when he was younger. After he stopped playing, he began writing about it, and his first book series, Foul Football, is dedicated to it. Coleman liked computers more than sports. He studied informatics at the University of Portsmouth, and his enthusiasm for technology was reflected in his novels. One of his most well-known novel series is actually about technology. The novel series Internet Detectives consists of 8 novels, and its objective is to illustrate the joy of informatics and the internet to young people whose lives are already being steadily invaded by technology. The author wrote a few picture books as well as novels for teenagers and adults. The first novel in the Internet Detectives series, Net Bandits, was also adapted into a film. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.